My friend was just telling me about this concert he went to. It sounded like a noteworthy event. Hey, shh.
Sorry.
Welcome back to Not Another Needless Sequel, where we watch movies and propose unnecessary prequels, sequels, reboots, and remakes. My name is Kane. Today I have with me Kelsey.
What's the word?
That wasn't a line in the movie.
What's the word, though? You know it.
Bird.
Hamilton.
This week we learned about the Butcher in 2024's Trap. You know the Butcher?
The Bay Harbor Butcher?
That freaking nut job that goes around chopping people up. So what do you think the story was?
Well, you pretty much said it. The Butcher. I'm just kidding. The Butcher is a serial killer who the FBI are trying to trap at a concert.
That is correct. So we open up with a man named Cooper and his daughter Riley. They're driving in the car to this concert. Probably the funniest line in the whole movie is the little girl is singing and she says, "Maybe I'll be a singer." And he goes, "Yeah, maybe." Very clearly, like can't be a singer.
Correct.
Also, from the very beginning, I feel that he felt off. Even if I didn't know that he was, like, if I was watching this movie and wasn't sure what it was, I'd be like, what's wrong with this guy? He talks like someone pretending to be a person.
Yeah, I actually found the beginning of this movie to be very cringy and make me uncomfortable because of how awkward he was.
Well, yeah, that's it's like
Yeah.
His awkwardness comes from being like, just hold it together. Don't let him know you're a psychopath.
Yeah.
And I thought that was pretty crazy that early on, like, I felt that way. But they're going to this concert for an artist named Lady Raven. Obviously, the girl, Riley, is super excited about it. Cooper is just kind of there for his daughter.
Because she got good grades.
Yes. So they go to this concert, and, the concert begins, like, the movie does take place, a good chunk of it, through this active concert. So songs in this film, they were actually performed on a stage as if it were a real concert. And the shoot involved thousands of extras who were not told what the film was about, but they received Salika Shyamalan, who played Lady Raven. They received her music beforehand so they would be able to sing along. Josh Hartnett, who plays Cooper, he recalled multiple extras consoling him because they thought he was nervous and was unaware of the character that he was playing. So you're just like, calm down, buddy. You're being a little weird.
Dang.
He's like, yeah.
That's pretty funny.
Totally.
That's actually really funny. So he did a good job at his role.
Yeah, apparently so.
I
But
probably would have ranked this movie like maybe a tad higher had I known that.
Oh.
I don't know, the beginning, it doesn't matter. We'll get to it.
So we do get a reveal that he is a serial killer. He goes into the bathroom, puts his phone on full blast, and listens to a guy.
Literally, the volume is at 100. Anybody could hear the person screaming for help.
Yeah, he's just in there like any old man watching a loud TikTok in public.
Like you say TikTok, Facebook video.
You're right. But you see that he has somebody apparently tied up in a basement.
I assumed that it was his daughter's bully.
Yeah, I guess that is kind of a B plot that's happening here where there's these girls that are mean to his daughter, but it's these two girls, and like that's kind of a funny like plot that's going on because this mom is there at the concert too, and she keeps like confronting him. He's like, "I'm a serial killer and I fucking will kill you."
Well, we get to the point in the movie, which this is jumping ahead a little bit, but it's just the one part that she's like, "I'm dangerous. You don't want to mess with me."
I honest to God thought he was gonna kill her.
I wished.
No. So with that reveal that, he's a psychopath, I already mentioned that he's like seemed a little weird. Oh, there's a bunch of scenes in the movie where he's talking to somebody, including the bully's mom, and it's first person. Like it switches back and forth between them, and it's like makes it really unsettling to be sitting in front of someone like that. It reminds me of, if you remember in Silence of the Lambs, like when they're filming the conversations between Clarice and Hannibal, they'll do like that very first person shot on Hannibal, and it like feels creepy. But they do that for this, and so for scenes which the actors would need to look into the camera lens for that, M. Night Shyamalan attached a one-way mirror to the lens that would reflect off another mirror and allow the actor in close-up to see the other actor. They weren't filming it separately, which is what I assumed at first, is that they were like, all right, you do your lines, and then they did somebody else. They were talking to each other, but they just were looking in a mirror to talk to them.
Oh, Interesting.
So, at this concert, Cooper starts to notice that there is a large police presence there, and then it starts to be the FBI is also showing up. So he's super nervous. They end up talking to this merchandise guy, and he asks him what's up, like why there's so many cops. And the guy tells him all this stuff because they have like a interaction where there was like a girl waiting in line. She was kind of mean about it. She was like, I've been waiting here way longer than them. I want that last shirt. And Cooper's like, oh, go ahead, it's fine. And so the guy like appreciates that. They form like a bond over that. And so throughout the movie, this guy helps him several times, not realizing that he's the one that everybody's looking for, because this guy tells him like, oh yeah, they heard the butcher was going to be here tonight, so we have secret code words. And he ends up giving him this code word, and he like steals a badge off people because they trust him. Like it's like he's the smartest person there or something.
Yeah.
To me, I'm like, you're just
He's not
super
as smart
lucky.
as Dexter.
Yeah. Well, part of the FBI showing up is there's an FBI profiler there. Haley Mills plays Dr. Josephine Grant, the profiler. And she's obviously trying to catch this serial killer who has a double life as a devoted parent and a family man. Haley Mills, is actually famous for playing a double role already as identical twin sisters in The Parent Trap in 1961.
Ooh, the original Parent Trap.
And the character, Dr. Josephine Grant, is attempting an elaborate scheme to catch a criminal who's also a father. She's in fact doing a Parent Trap. No. Anyway.
Yeah, I think something for me was, first off, I didn't, like, this concert had so many intermissions because his daughter was with him, and then he kept acting like a little freak. That's what I said. He's acting like a little freak. And he just didn't spend any time at the actual concert itself.
Yeah, every 5 seconds he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna go to the bathroom. Do you need some more drinks, or do you want some food?"
Yeah. It made me think of when my mom took us to the theaters to see a movie, and she kept offering more drink and popcorn one time because she hated the movie so much. That's the vibe I got.
Well, yeah. Well, the daughter's even calling him out, like, why are you acting weird? But he's nervous. He's trying to find a way out, and he like pushes a woman over. And I don't know if he was planning to escape right there, if it worked, or if he was just kind of gauging their reaction time. Because I'm like, if you leave, your daughter's just in there. But there's like an additional scene where somebody comes up through a stage floor, but it's kind of like in the crowd on the floor. And he's like, that's a pretty cool hole. What if we just climbed in there?
I know. And she's like, why are you being so weird? Yeah.
He's like, don't mind me. Yeah, so he can't find a way out. I laughed because there's a scene where I think it's the merchandise guy, Jamie. He's telling him, he's like, there's no way to get out of here except backstage. And I'm like, why would you say that?
I know.
But another thing comes up later where they're like, oh yeah, anybody going out these back doors like still needs to be checked by the cops, because if you're leaving backstage, like, you're mostly clear, but they're doing like a final like questionnaire as you're walking out the door. And she's like, only Lady Raven and her close group are excluded. Why would you say that?
I know.
That's such a weird, like, random bit of information to provide. Nobody would normally say that. It's just to like get it in the audience's mind, like, oh, he's got to do this.
He's got to do, yeah. I agree. I think one thing worth mentioning is when he's trying to look for a way out and he goes to the roof, uses the word Hamilton, and goes back down and pretends to be a worker, he burns a lady's face off, quite literally.
Yeah, he like causes a kitchen accident so that they don't see him go through this door, and he puts jars or glass bottles of oil, which I've never seen a glass bottle of oil like that in my life.
In oil. Yeah. And turns the temp up.
And so it explodes. And yeah, he ruined this woman's life, like,
yeah,
so that he could go to the roof where he didn't do anything. I guess he was looking to see if he could get out, but he got confronted by the cops, and so he just turned around. That girl's life is ruined.
Correct.
But he finds his way out, or what's going to be his way out is he hears that Lady Raven plays a song called Dreamer Girl, where she brings a girl on stage.
His daughter mentions it.
Yes. And so he ends up snaking his way into that by speaking to apparently Lady Raven's uncle, and says, my daughter, she's just healed from cancer. Like, he makes up this sob story, so they feel bad. They choose her.
And he's like, she doesn't want anyone to know. She just wants to be normal.
Yeah, so they end up bringing his daughter Riley on stage, so obviously he gets to go too. And after the concert, they end up backstage with Lady Raven to do like, I guess like a little meet and greet, congratulations on being the Dreamer Girl. I don't know.
It's actually very sad because his daughter's literally having the best day of her life.
Yeah, and he's having the worst day of his life. I mean, not that he doesn't deserve it. I'm just saying, like, it's funny.
It's just very sad because it's all going to come down on her, and it's going to be yet the best and yet the worst day.
Yeah. Also, I laughed, as, we're about to get out of this concert, I laughed because, like, as their movie was happening, and they're talking about, like, that they're trying to look for the butcher, they keep pulling people out of the crowd. You're seeing men get taken off. And, like, by the looks of all the men they're pulling, they don't have a very good description. They're just, like, any man, really. Like... But I thought, like, when they get back there with Lady Raven and he's like, can I talk to you alone? Like, why? That's so weird. Like, I would say no, Yeah. Can you imagine, like, dad and daughter go backstage to see Taylor Swift or something, and the dad's like, hey, Taylor Swift, can I just speak to you alone over here, like, away from my daughter and the security? Like, that would never happen, but that scene is super threatening. He's basically just like, hey, you got me, I'm a serial killer, but I'll fucking kill this guy if you don't do what I say. And Lady Raven tries to help. They make a point to show that she might genuinely be a good person, so she has this desire to actually care about this random person he has tied up. They end up at his house because Lady Raven's trying to pull something, and even though she was supposed to just drop him off, she has to go inside. So in the Cooper's house, she meets Cooper's wife and Cooper's son, Logan. His wife's name is Rachel. And, they're having like a normal time until she offers to play a song on the piano, and she is like, oh, you want to take a picture, Riley? After hiding Riley's phone in her pocket, Riley's like, oh, I don't know where my phone is. And Lady Raven quickly is like, oh, we'll just use your dad's. Snatches that phone and then is like, well, I have to pee, and runs into the bathroom, uses that phone to get her fans involved to figure out where this guy is. And I did like that scene because, like, that is, celebrities have, like, that kind of power in today's world where they can say something on, like, a live and it changes what people are doing. And it works out. Like, that guy gets saved that he's had tied up this whole time.
Right. And I think something else is it shows his family, like, he literally loses his mind.
Yeah. He's freaking out there. Like, the jig is up. And she yells it out the door to the family. Your husband is the butcher.
Yeah.
And
which, come to find out, the wife knew.
Yeah. So, Cooper tries to escape with
Lady Raven and the car, and his wife's car.
Yes.
He ends up escaping and subdues a SWAT team member, steals his outfit, and drives away in the limo with Lady Raven. That's how he escapes the house the first time.
Yeah, because he takes the place of her driver. Right. Like, he just walks up to the driver and is like, hey, we'll take it from here. And he handcuffs her. She ends up breaking the bar inside the limousine, and she is able to just kind of run away. And he changes into some of the gear that she has in there, the concert gear, and just slips into the crowd as the cops surround that. I didn't get to mention it before, but the whole time when he's, like, showing people that he has this guy tied up in basement, he's using an iPhone. And Apple apparently has a rule where bad guys can't use iPhones. So I thought that was interesting. I don't know how they got away with that or what exactly. Maybe. I mean, M. Night Shyamalan finances his own movies. So anyway, yeah, he escapes from the crowd after they surround that limousine, and he ends up going back to the house to Rachel, and he's mad because he's now figured out that she is the one that ratted him out.
Yeah.
She thought he was having an affair, ended up following him, eventually just kind of put it all together and left.
She said it's because he used to come from smelling like cleaning solution.
Yeah, and she put these ticket stubs to the concert that they went to in this house where he had murdered somebody or captured somebody. And the cops obviously found the tickets, and so that's how they knew he was going to be there. And he's telling Rachel that he's going to kill her, but Rachel's like, let's eat this pie first. It's the last pie that, Riley made. And he eats it. It turns out that Rachel had poisoned the pie with the same poison that he uses that, I guess, subdues people, or it paralyzes people. And the cops get him. But then, as he's leaving and he's being walked off the front lawn, a bike is on the floor, and he bends over to pick up the bike, and they point guns at him, but Rachel's like, no, like, just leave him. And you think, because they mention, and they do kind of show it, he does weird things, like, in the heat of all this stuff I've been talking about happening at the house, like, he's leaving the bathroom, and he, like, fixes a towel, and they mention, the profiler says like he'd have like OCD or something, want to be very tidy, and so you think he's just picking this bike up for that reason, but he broke a spoke off of it, surrounded by cops, and he uses it to break out of his handcuffs, and the movie just ends with that.
With him laughing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good thing they let him pick up that bike.
Good thing.
So I rated this movie a 4 out of 5. I think that it wasn't perfect, and there were some parts of it that maybe felt, obviously they were just there to progress the plot, but I think it was just fun. Like, it was an interesting concept, and I think Josh Hartnett like played the hell out of that role. Like, he truly seemed like a psychopath. I mean, everybody, I think's performance was really well done, and I just thought it was good.
Yeah, I also gave it a 4 out of 5. I liked it. I didn't care for the cringy stuff in the beginning.
It's just dads being...
Yeah, certain things like the cops do, you're like, what's wrong with you?
Psychopaths being dads.
Yeah.
I also have to mention that there was a mid-credit scene that shows the merchandise guy, Jamie, watching the news and finding out that it was Cooper, and he's like, I helped him.
Yeah. He's freaking out, telling his wife.
Yeah, he's like, I'm never talking to anybody. But that was funny.
It was.
So, I have this question. I've asked you it before, but this is for everyone listening. I just have the one question. I didn't do 5 because it's a bit of a read. This question, supposedly, if you answer it incorrectly, it means you're a psychopath.
Incorrectly?
Well, I would think you wouldn't want to be a psychopath.
Okay.
I mean, I
don't
guess...
know what the correct answer is. I guess you'll tell me once I answer it.
Well, I guess the correct answer is up to you if you want to be a psychopath or not.
Okay, let's see.
While at her own mother's funeral, a woman meets a guy she doesn't know. She thinks this guy is amazing, her dream man, and is pretty sure he could be the love of her life. However, she never asks for his name or number, and afterwards cannot find anyone who knew who he was. A few days later, the girl kills her own sister. Why did she do it?
To have another funeral, to have the guy there again.
If I go missing.
Was that the right answer?
I mean, that's the wrong answer. It means you're a psychopath.
Oh, I feel like it's
Most
just
people
logic.
would be like, "Brr, I don't know."
I feel like it's
Sounds like
logic.
she's crazy.
I don't know about that.
Anyway, this movie does not have a sequel. M. Night Shyamalan does not do many sequels, but what's your sequel?
Yeah, it's a direct sequel. I forgot to name it.
The Big Trap. Cooper
so
does another
maybe-
Big Trap.
Maybe Caught
Caught,
or something. I don't know. Like
Catch,
I think single line,
Trap,
single
Trapid.
word.
Escape,
Trapid.
Escape.
Escape. Anyways, maybe you can come up with something. I just
gave you gold
I just
after
legitimately
gold.
forgot. It wasn't that I meant to or whatever.
I'm going to put that on the poll. Forgot.
Maybe I'll just name it Iron Lake
Iron Lake.
or something. Anyways, let me get to it. Jesus. It's a direct sequel. The movie picks up with a nationwide manhunt for Cooper after he escaped the police brigade that was taking him to prison. Listen, this is not going to be realistic. Even though he escaped those handcuffs, I don't know how there was a literal brigade of cops.
Also, I don't think those doors open from...
No.
So, like, he would have just had to wait, and they would have been like, where's your handcuffs?
And he would have been like, brr! Yeah, like, I don't think it would have happened, but we're going with the premise that it did. He decides to write his family letters rather than kill his wife, Rachel, and then himself. He just decided to flee and try and change his identity. He writes his daughter a letter telling her his plan, and she meets with him one final time before saying goodbye for forever. I just felt like the hug at the end of the movie, like she still loved her dad even though he was bad people.
Totally.
Fast forward 7 years, and Cooper has moved from town to town trying to find a place where he fits in. He stumbles across this small town in upstate New York, Iron Lake.
I see.
He decides to settle here because he thinks it's small and desolate enough for him, as it's a pass-through town and he's still able to occasionally murder travelers without many people noticing. He befriends a guy in town, Jim Lindsay, at the local shop that Jim works at.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah, you like it? Listen, I'll explain at the end. He is searching for work, and Jim learns that he used to be a fireman. He helps him find a job as a park ranger at a nearby outdoors area, and they become friends. As time passes, Cooper is having a harder time sticking to killing tourists and people just passing through town on rare occasions, and starts to want to murder people in town. Which I think goes back to, he used to just be like, once I see somebody, I just get the feeling, and then that's what makes him decide he's gonna kill him.
Mm-hmm.
Jim notices that Cooper's demeanor changes and can't help his own dark passenger and begins to look into it. He discovers that Cooper is the butcher and decides the world needs to be rid of him since the police couldn't do it themselves. Jim is unable to fight off his dark passenger and ends up starting to gather the supplies. Meanwhile, Cooper is setting his eyes on his next target, a kid he met at a diner just rolling through town named Harrison.
For those of you who have
Wait,
not...
I'll tell him at the end.
Okay.
Let me finish. As he sets his plan, Jim sets his. Jim subdues Cooper and has him strapped to the table, where he informs Cooper he's really Dexter Morgan.
The Bay Harbor Butcher.
And Cooper knows Dexter Morgan is the Bay Harbor Butcher. Seeing that story made him realize that he didn't have to hide his own dark passenger, and that's when he started to murder people. Dexter kills him and swears he only did it to protect Iron Lake from the bad person and goes back to being Jim Lindsay. The final scene will be the scene where Harrison and Dexter meet for the first time. So, everyone, I did a crossover with Dexter New Blood, which if you've seen the original show Dexter, you would know. However, I think that we can just blame that show not being very good on Cooper. Or on Dexter himself, I mean. Because had Dexter not killed Cooper, Harrison would be dead. And then we wouldn't have had to go through all that.
Well, I do like a Dexter crossover.
I don't feel like I've done really any crossovers either yet.
Didn't you just do a Versus movie for Art the Clown Terrifier?
That's not a crossover, that's a Versus.
A crossover. It's a crossover. Anyway, mine is called Trapped. Don't look at... You didn't even come up with a name.
What do you think my name should be now that you hear my story?
Butcher versus Butcher.
Butcher or Butchie?
I would just call it Butcher.
Yeah.
M. Night Shyamalan
That's good. I like
hasn't
that.
done many sequels, but the ones he did do, Split, nobody knew it was a sequel because it wasn't called Invincible 2.
Yeah.
And then Glass was not called Invincible 3 or Split 2.
Yeah, and I like the single word, so Butcher's good. Thank you. Butcher, everyone. That's the name of it.
So Cooper is back on the loose after making a sly getaway from the cops. He has had to change up his methods. Cooper now preys on victims who live alone and prides himself on trapping them within their own home for his amusement. He's been doing this for about 5 years and hasn't made a single mistake. Cooper has also been using this as practice as he plans to trap his former family in a home so he can talk to his kids. He has been stalking his ex-wife Rachel, his daughter Riley, and his son Logan. Tonight's the night he knows they will be together in their home and he can finally clear things up. He has spent months preparing the home, secretly installing soundproofing, gaining access to the security system, ensuring any weapons were locked away, and installing a signal blocker to be activated once he gets everyone in place. Cooper has snuck into the home and is waiting and watching until the family sits down for dinner. Something he did not prepare for happens, a knock at the door. Rachel has just started dating a man named Ethan, and he is here for dinner. No matter, Cooper will just have to trap him as well. At the flip of a switch on Cooper's iPhone...
Oh my gosh, he just looked at me with big eyes.
The house enters a lockdown with the signal jammer activating, the security system failing, and all of the locks being engaged. Cooper emerges from his hiding place with a smile on his face. Cooper is so happy to see his kids, and he reaches out to hug them, and they stare at him horrified, which makes Cooper angry, and he begins blaming it on Rachel. The family waits for his next move, and Cooper insists they eat the food Rachel prepared. Cooper waits with glee, promising not to do anything rash, but Cooper knew what Rachel would be preparing for dinner tonight and has poisoned the ingredients to bring an end to himself and take his family with him. The night progresses with everyone finishing their meal, and Cooper becoming more uneasy as the end approaches. He begins arguing with Rachel and further blaming her, calling the kids ungrateful, and finally he tries to kill Ethan for being with his wife, as he becomes completely unhinged and he approaches his own death. Like, he thinks, I'm gonna die, so he's having like, it'd be a whole mental thing where he'd be like starting to panic, almost regretting what he's done, but they've already eaten.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he's becoming more unhinged. He runs at Ethan. Suddenly, the poison hits him hard. This causes him to slip and smash his head into the kitchen countertop. But once Cooper is incapacitated, almost immediately, medics have rushed in and begun giving Cooper treatment for the poison. Cooper is confused as Rachel explains to him that they've known he was watching and the FBI has been waiting. All of the poison meant for the family was slipped into only Cooper's food, and they had a treatment to prevent him from taking his own life. But through a combination of the poison effects and hitting his head, Cooper can no longer communicate, and we see that he is trapped inside his own head, listening to how he was caught. 1 year later, Cooper is in a criminal speech therapy unit as they try to rehabilitate him in order to get more information on his past victims. Cooper seems unresponsive as usual until his doctor leaves the room, and we see Cooper flash a smile, and he suddenly seems very coherent.
In the movie with a smile, just like the first one.
Yeah.
So is the next one going to be called Trapadada?
The next one won't happen because when people see that ending, they will cry.
Oh my gosh.
Nobody will like that ending. That's a somehow he came back ass ending.
I like it.
Well, I liked yours better.
I feel like both of our sequels were good.
I actually had a Dexter reference in mine when I said tonight's the night. It's the first line of the first show Dexter.
Yeah. I just felt like I didn't like Dexter New Blood.
Me
and
neither.
while we can't erase what happened, we can at least give I just felt like this was an homage to the original Dexter being very sneaky and not making mistakes, and I feel like that's the mistake that New Blood made.
There's currently 2 new Dexter shows happening, so maybe this crossover can happen.
Maybe.
Anyway, thank you so much for listening. We do so appreciate it. If you want to talk movies with us, you can find us on TikTok, Instagram, Letterboxd, Threads, and Twitter. We are NansPod everywhere.
NansPod.
If you'd like to vote on whose sequel idea was the best, come by our YouTube channel for the polls, or let us know your idea with a comment, tweet, or you can reach us at needlesssequel@gmail.com. Links, as always, will be wherever you're listening. If I could ask you for one thing, it's to share our show with someone. Maybe leave us a review. That's how we get new listeners. And of course, I also ask that you come back for more. We'd love to have you and hear what we can do to improve. Next week, we're preparing for Gladiator 2 with what?
My name is Maximus Decimus Meridius.
With Lilo and Stitch. No, we'll be watching Gladiator and doing our own sequel. So normally I close with a line from the movie, but I decided for a little bit that I'm going to be closing with something in an attempt to inspire, drive, or uplift you, something like that. May not be for everybody, and it's not going to have anything to do with, the movie that we had. There wasn't a lot of inspirational words in this movie.
Oh, you didn't think so?
So today I want to close with Obi-Wan Kenobi's message for any surviving Jedi from Star Wars Rebels, the animated show. This is Master Obi-Wan Kenobi. I regret to report both our Jedi Order and the Republic have fallen, with a dark shadow of the Empire rising to take their place. This message is a warning and a reminder for any surviving Jedi. Trust in the Force. Do not return to the Temple. That time has passed. And our future is uncertain. We will each be challenged. Our trust, our faith, our friendships, but we must persevere, and in time, a new hope will emerge. May the Force be with you, always. So take care of yourselves. We will see you next week.
Bye.